Hi, hello everyone. Let's discuss on the important topic, the stakeholder analysis for a business analyst. I'll give you the detailed explanation on that topic, guys. Okay, so let's move step by step. So let's first one is the introduction to stakeholder analysis. So let's I'll give you what is a stakeholder, who is a stakeholder, okay, and how to do the stakeholder analysis and why it is a crucial for the business analyst role. So a stakeholder is a any group, any individual, or any organization who can affect or directly affected by or provide themselves to be affected by the decisions or the activity or the project outcome or the project goal. So these are the stakeholders. So there is a negative stakeholder, positive stakeholder, internal stakeholder, external stakeholder, business stakeholder, like the development team, tester, business analyst, project manager, subject matter expert. Okay, these are all the stakeholders. Okay, and the stakeholder analysis is a systematic process or the systematic approach to identify the project stakeholder and analyzing their needs and expectation and planning appropriate engagement strategy. Basically, stakeholder analysis is a technique or the process or the approach that help us to identify the who is the highly impacted, highly interest, or the low interest, low impact, low influencer, low power, or the RACI chart preparation to identify such stakeholders. It's the process. Okay, and then why is it crucial for the business analyst? Yeah, BA are, we know very well, BRIA are the bridge between the business need and the technical solutions. So how, and they affect the stakeholder management to ensure the requirement are accurately captured and ensure the meet the business objective. We know business analyst is a gap between the business team and the development team, so that business analyst should know if they have any requirement, if they have any regulatory changes comes. So the business analyst should know who will be done the development on that side and who will be give me the appropriate requirement, who are the stakeholder are more interested to the success of that project, who have the higher power to complete that project. So on understanding that thing, so BA will easily gather the requirement with using the requirement elicitation technique, and BA will assign that task to appropriate developer who will be do the high accuracy development. So that's the stakeholder analysis. And then why uh, the stakeholder analysis is important for the business analyst. So it's ensure the comprehensive requirement. There are the the a number of stakeholder that will be give you the requirement, but to identify the all the relevant perspective and missing the requirement to identify the right person to give you the right requirement at the right time and the right developer who done the right development and the right tester who done the right and appropriate way and has a business expected way done the testing. So that's the important thing for that. And then they minimize the resistance. The proactive engagement helps address concern early and reduce the project delay and conflict. If you have the proper stakeholder analysis, if you know who is a responsible consult, accountant, and informed person, and who is give me the requirement in a single stroke, and who will be approve my requirement, then you should be the delay of the the requirement gathering and the requirement analysis and the design and development stage. You should delay reduce that delay thing and build. Next one is a build consensus, so facility argument among diverse group and leading to smoother project execution. Absolutely, they if you have the build a proper relationship with the stakeholder and gather the requirement as they require. So then that will be the leading the smooth project execution, and there is a no gap between the projects. And then the enhance the communications. Yeah, if you have the appropriate stakeholder analysis and you know how to tackle with the stakeholder, how to gather the requirement from this stakeholder, so it will be enhance and all the communication strategy to affect the stakeholders group and understand the requirement and increase the project success rate. If we have the appropriate stakeholder and stakeholder analysis, obviously it will be increase your the project success rate and the manage the expectations, set a realistic expectation of project's outcome and timeline, how the project will complete it, how much time will require each stage to complete. So it should that have also. So let's move on the next slide. That the while you are doing as a business analyst, while you are doing stakeholder analysis, so you should follow these steps to be to appropriate do the stakeholder analysis, and these steps will help you to do the perfect way of stakeholder analysis. Okay, so first step is identify the stakeholders. There are the a number of stakeholders who are directly and indirectly impacted on your projects, but you should be identify the stakeholder who are the very important for the success of your project, or who have the high hours, who have the high import urgent, or who have the high importance, high interest in the projects, high influencer of the projects or the project sponsor. So that's way you should identify the stakeholders and filter them and sort them and give the prioritize the stakeholder who are very important for your projects. And then analyze the stakeholder, what are their interests, influence and impact on the on your projects. So analyze these stakeholder, do the short prioritization of these stakeholder, and the prioritize the stakeholder who matters most and when. So whatever requirement you are gathering, what should you do? So analyze these things is also. And the development and engagement strategy, how will you involve them? What are your development strategy? What are the requirement illustration techniques you are engaging to develop the engagement with the stakeholders? So that's also important. And monitor and communicate, how do we keep them informed and engaged throughout the project life cycle? How you can give them the project progress, how you will be communicate with the them. It's the to monitor and update the progress of the project. So that's the step you should follow to do the stakeholder analysis. Then let's move on the very important slide, so that identify the stakeholders. Okay, to identify stakeholder first, you can use the brainstorming session where gather the project team to all the stakeholder potential stakeholder and interact with them, and understand their the roles and responsibilities and their power and influence and the interest to complete that project. And write down that thing, and while you are gathering the requirements, so you can contact with the appropriate stakeholder and work on the furthers. So categorization, there are the categorization is the most important thing. You have the a number of stakeholders, so you can categorize the stakeholder who are the developers, who are the inform, who are the consultant, who are the accountable, who are the responsible, who are the high interest, who are the low influencer. So that way you should categorize your stakeholder, and you accordingly whatever your tasks you want to complete from stakeholders, so assign that stack interest, external and primary, secondary, role, influence, seedless. On that basis, you can categorize your stakeholder. That will help you while you are gathering the requirements. So ask who else continuously seeks and out the new stakeholder has the project involved, and the typical stakeholder for the BA. What are the stakeholder for the business analyst is a project sponsor or the project manager, end user, customer, subject matter expert, functional manager. departmental head, IT team, development, tester, architecture, legal, compliance, marketing, sales manager, sales executive, marketing manager, marketing executive, the quant analyst, development team member, business analyst, okay, and then the vendor and the regulator. These are the stakeholder that involve in the project. So let's move on the next slide. So analyze the stakeholder power and greed. It's also the very important matrix, guys. You should have the different stakeholders. So from that you should analyze the stakeholder who have higher power or the higher interest to success of your project. So it is an categorization technique to categorize the stakeholder based on their level of power, ability to influence the project, and the interest level of concern and involvement. So you should be categorized. So there you should draw the quadrant. In the chart there are the four quadrant. First quadrant is the add the stakeholder who are have the high power and high interest to success of your project or the success of the project which you are working. So these are the very key player, and engage actively and satisfy them continuously, make interaction with them, update them the project progress, understand their the need if they have some requirement, give their the requirement is high priority, okay, and then the high power and low interest. That is also the important but may not be actively involved, and keep informed to prevent them the from the becoming the detractors, and update them because they have high power. So update them the progress of the projects, but that is not important. Okay, then the low power and the high interest, enthusiastic but limited influence, in and inform them regularly and use their insight. They are highly interested to the success of project. So they may be the the requirement, use them to requirement gathering techniques. So they are interested, and these are the enthusiastic and but the limited influence for this stakeholder. And then the low power and low interest stakeholder, it's the least important thing. You can ignore these stakeholder also, and minimal effort, but keep eye on them. If you have the some other threes are not available, so you maybe contact this stakeholder to complete your task. So these are the the power and grid analysis, the stakeholder analysis. Let's move on the next slide. Let's visually I'll show you how to do the power and grid analysis, and the manage closely, keep satisfied, keep informed and monitor. So these are the each chart where you can do the stakeholder analysis. Okay, so understand that thing. Let's move on the next slide. So this is analyze the stakeholder with the another matrix, that is the influence and impact grid. So it is also we are similarly it is also the stakeholder categorization technique, but we use the the factors like the influence and impact, but focus on the stakeholder ability to influence the project direction and the degree to which they are impacted by the project's outcome. So how they are the stakeholders. So here we do the high influence and high impact. The stakeholder are very important to us and very crucial stakeholder, and require deep engagement with that stakeholder, continuously interaction with that stakeholder. And second part is the high influence but low impact, can shape the decision but not directly affected, keep them bored. So these are the stakeholders who are the highly influenced but they have the low impact of your projects. Okay, and then the low influence and high impact, directly affected but less ability to things and need empathy and clear communication. And the low influence and the low impacted, minimal engagement needed. So let's suppose, let me give you the first one example. High power and the interest. If you are building the project for the operation team, you know how the operation process will work. So there is the project sponsor who have the high power and who is the high interested, and like the operation manager or the operation team members are away, they have the low power but they are the high interested in your projects. But the director, they are the director or the 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 other team members who are the project sponsors. but they have the high power but low interest to the success of your projects. And if suppose the marketing team, sales team member, they are the low power and the low interest to success of your project. So that's, I'll give you the example way to analyze your project. And the influencer and the impact should be show the operation team and the operation manager high hand. Operation team has high influence and the high impact, but the operation sales or the project sponsor have the low impact but they have the high influence. Like same the marketing example you can take the further progress. So let's move on the next slide. That's the tools and the techniques for BA to do the for the stakeholder analysis. So the business analyst should register all the stakeholder. He should have the documented listing of the stakeholder, a number of stakeholder. What are the stakeholder? What are their roles and responsibilities? And there also the power and greed, and then also the influence and impact on the your projects. So documented listing all the stakeholder on their roles and interests and power and contact information. So whenever we need, then immediately contact the stakeholder, and we have the documented all these things. I'll already explain you the power and greed matrix and the influence and impact matrix. So you can go back and check these slides. Let's discuss on the RACI matrix. Whenever the project will start, at that time business analysts need to be draw the RACI matrix. So whenever the requirement is completed or the design is completed, so he know what the stakeholder I need to understand the requirement. So there is the responsible who does the work, okay, like a development team who are actually doing the work, or the business analysts who are actually gathering the requirement, analyze the requirement, or the tester who are do the testing of the of that. So that's the responsible person, the accountable person who is ultimately answerable for the task or deliverable, like the project manager or the or the development lead or the testing lead or the quality tester. These are the the accountable person who are answerable to deliver the task. So these are accountable person, and the consultant who need to provide the input before work get is done, like a delivery manager. We should need to provide the progress of the project or the input, or while we are doing the production environment deployment, we need to update them like a project manager. And the inform means who need to keep update after the work get is done. It's also the client, okay, or the client head or the delivery manager. That comes under the informed person, and it clearly helps the roles and responsibilities of each stakeholder. High power, we should do inform. So that's the tools and techniques so business analysts will use to do the stakeholder analysis. Let's move on the next slide. Challenges in stakeholder analysis. So first one is identify all stakeholder. It is important to list down all the stakeholder, to understand their roles and responsibilities, to understand their the interests, or to understand their you the work experience in that same domain, and make them who are the high subject matter expert and who will be give us the appropriate environment, who has the high power. So that's very important to identify these stakeholders. Some may be hidden and emerge and late they are comes. So that's the first challenge. Then the conflict of interest. Different stakeholder may have opposite goals and opposite interests in that projects, and each stakeholder have the different thoughts and different ideas too on that project. So that's the conflict between their interests, and manage their requirements and find the appropriate solutions that will be the satisfy the business need, business goal, business objective, and that exactly fit for the business problem. And then the changing the expectation need can involve over time. So each real stakeholder have the different the expectation from the success of the projects, and they continuously give us the change requirement. Then the scope creep situation will happen. So it's a challenging for the business analyst or while doing the stakeholder analysis to identify the appropriate stakeholder. And resistance to change. Stakeholder may oppose new solutions, and explain that solution to the development team, and they will not, the development is done, the testing is done, and then the stakeholder will come with the new solution. So that's also the challenging to explain that thing, and the change is very difficult to implement in the solution. Okay, then lack of engagement difficult in getting stakeholder participant. So maybe the stakeholder is no interested in the success of the projects, or they are not involved in the project. So lack of their engagement is also very challenging, and managing the difficult stakeholder. So some stakeholder are very not interested in the stakeholder, and they are always less lazy, they are not able to give the requirement. So dealing with these stakeholder are very challenging tasks. So first, polite with these stakeholder, listen firstly them, and then to do your the actions. So that's the things you should do in the stakeholder challenges. And then the last slide is the conclusion. So, guys, whatever we learn from that stakeholder analysis, we can conclude the stakeholder analysis is a fundamental skill for the business analyst, and it's the very important and key skill for the business analyst to do the stakeholder analysis before to start with the requirement gathering things. And affect the stakeholder management is not just about the people, identify the people, but understanding their perspective and strategy and engaging them. Correct. So it's the stakeholder analysis is not a simple thing to identify those people and to gather the requirement. No, to identify people and to do the power grid matrix, to interest and the influence matrix, and then do the RACI chart and understand their roles and responsibilities, understand the interest in that project, and accordingly to gather the requirement, collect the things from them. Okay, to transfer the potential obstacle into a line, ensuring the project requirement are meet the solution, and adopt the successful the strategy to success the projects. And key takeaway from that slide is the successful projects are built on strong relationship and clear communication with all the stakeholders. So they we need to involve while the working on the projects to involvement with all the stakeholder, understand their requirement. Okay, these are the things I need to explain you in the part of stakeholder analysis. If you like my video and if you like my explanation, so please like and subscribe my channel. So that will be motivate me to create more videos for you guys. Thank you so much for attending this seminar.